Hello and welcome to the channel. Now this is another video where we are looking a bit back in time and having a look at how we would have traded different stocks over the last years that have been a bit difficult for many investors. Now you might say that it is easy for me to sit here and say that I would have traded a stock at a certain given day or a week. However, if you have followed my videos, you know that I have a very strict strategy. There can be a few percentage of subjective decision making in here, but in overall there is a very fixed strategy to this. And the strategy is that we are looking at our TPI indicators here, and we want the long-term TPI indicator to be green, meaning that we are in a long-term uptrend. Then we want the stock to get into this yellow bar here, which is the oversold accumulation. And we can start to look for an entry here, but we do actually prefer this weekly TPI to turn upwards and then having a green day, meaning something like this would be a good buying point for instance, Meta platforms. Now, to having an exit here in this particular strategy, I'm also looking at the weekly chart, the weekly TPI, and when we start to get a gray bar up here, it means that it is in an accumulation overbought phase, and what I'm looking for there is some red space here. It could be here. Let me show you just in TradingView in a second where I would actually take an exit here, because I'm using a bit more advanced charting techniques there. However, just looking at Meta here, and we are looking back, let's go back here, we can see that it started to turn green here in January 2023. Now at this point, please remember, because it's always easy to look at this in hindsight and say, yeah, that was of course the place we all would have wanted to buy it. However, remember that going into 2023, everyone on YouTube, all economists, all bankers, basically everyone you could find on the internet were predicting that 2023 would be a complete collapse of the economy, a complete collapse of the stock market. Everyone would go bankrupt and so on and so forth. So trying to get in here was maybe a bit difficult. So what we could see here is it turned green here, and I'm not personally a fan of just going long because this turns green, because there can be a million different things to consider. Also, this was in a accumulation oversold phase, and I normally don't buy there unless I'm at a shorter term trading strategy looking at the daily TPI. However, it did look it was getting into the oversold accumulation here, and we could go in around here if we wanted to. I do prefer this, however, to go into the yellow bar continuing when this turns green, the weekly TPI. So I probably wouldn't have entered here. It's always easy to say, yeah, I think I would have entered here, but basically my strategy wouldn't really allow it here. There is a strategy called the triple green, which is a green here, a green here, and a green here. And that one occurred here, so we could have entered in March getting in around 200, which would still have been good. However, with this strategy where we are looking at the long-term green TPI, then an oversold accumulation here, and turning up green as well as being oversold accumulation, that would have sent us in here around the 297. I know this was in August, so you could say, well, Hans, you missed all of this here. Yes, I did, but that is a part of the game. I'll show you in a second why I don't mind too much about that, because I got in here in the 290 to 295-ish somewhere, and then I started to look for somewhere to get out here, because I got the overbought accumulation here, and I would have probably gone out up here only making something like 7 or 8%, something like that. And to be honest, I didn't get a good solid entry anywhere else. In very strong uptrends like this, I normally, or sometimes I should say, I do go for this where I'm looking for the long-term trend here. I'm looking to see if the price holds above 50 SMA here, the green line, and then I can enter here, for instance, on a triple green around the 354-ish something. But basically, just following the simple strategy, I would not have made money on most of Meta's huge upturn here. There are several of the others, so-called Magnificent Seven, that I could have made a lot of money on, and I'll show you them to you in another video. However, the reason why this doesn't matter too much for me is that we should also consider that the market can be in a downtrend. And looking at this, Meta was up here. It was in 376-ish, and at that point I have been looking back. Don't regard this yellow here, that is actually red, and that will be corrected soon. But basically we were in a red zone all the way from up here in the 375-6-ish here, and then all the way down here. And I might only have been a part of this trend for 5 to 10% up here, which is annoying in a stock like Meta with this particular strategy. But basically in the last 3.5 years, I was out all the way down here, and then I was also out most of the upturn here. So basically it went up from, let's just say 400 to 500, meaning it went up something like 25% over 3.5 years, which is not exceptionally good. On that big trip down, big trip up, I was only in here making somewhere between 5 and 10% with basically no drawdown, and all of the other time here I could be in other stocks. And that is a big part of this strategy. It is that you get in a stock, hopefully you take a quick trip up with it, and then you get out. Then you can reallocate your money into other stocks, and of course once in a while there's just a runner like Meta here. And well, I was not in it, to be honest, and as I said, it's always annoying to see a huge stock go from down here in the 90 and up to 500. It could have been fantastic to put every single cent of my humble fortune into Meta. However, that would also have been a big risk. So what you need to consider when looking at different strategies and different analysts on the internet, if someone's saying that they got in at this exact point at 90 and they followed it up here, they are either one of the most lucky persons in the world, or they are full of shit, I guess. So doing this is a good testament to that the strategy I'm showing here on the channel is actually a decent strategy, and we're making quite a lot of money with it on our stock of the day portfolio. However, it's not perfect. It doesn't catch every single winner. If we're looking at TradingView here, I do have different tools. You can see here, this was actually something I drew on the chart way back here when Meta was around in the 340-50 here. I'm using these regression channels, and regression channels is a thing that I have told about in several videos, but it's basically a statistical tool where you ask a program to draw a regression line that is the best fit line through a number of data points, and then it draws a 2 standard deviation band on this, so on the upper hand and on the lower hand here. And often when I'm considering entering into a stock, I'm using these regression channels, and I want to see a significant break of a regression channel, something like this, before I look at the TPI and look at, is the long-term TPI green, and can I time it from the weekly time frame. So I wouldn't have gotten in anyway in Meta before it was at around 200, and then of course it would have been a fantastic adventure up here. Now, is it time to buy or sell Meta now? I haven't got the slightest idea. I can look at the TPI indicators here and see what they're telling me, but I'll not get into that. I'll let you test that for yourself. Go into MyStockScanner. If you aren't a customer already, there's a link underneath the video here, and you can use that to get a 14 days completely free trial, and well, then test it for yourself. That's all for now. Take care of yourself and your money out there. I'll speak to you again shortly. Bye.